What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Gobbler Effect, season number 2, episode 18 here on the Virginia Tech Hockey Network, sponsored by the Beach House Bar and Grill. My name is Chris Pierce. Happy to be back with you for another episode, joined once again today by head coach Joey Mullen, as well as special guest Hokies senior defenseman Kevin McAfee. Guys, how are we both doing today?
Doing well.
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we got a big week ahead. The regular season is now finished. We move now towards the playoffs. But before we get into this weekend, let's kind of backtrack to last weekend as we always start. Let's go with senior night, JMU. You guys beat the Dukes 10-1 and an absolute stunning, great offensive performance. Coach, can you talk a little bit about that game and what you saw from the team?
We started a little slow in the scoring department, I guess. We pretty much controlled the game from start to finish. It was nice to see some guys that don't score a lot put the puck in the net. It's always good to see your senior score. When you get a senior gets a hat trick, surgeon gets another goal. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, your senior certainly came out to play. You had Key in net, and then you had, like you said, Dom with a hat trick, and then you had Surgeon cap off another goal later on. What did it mean, Kevin? You can kind of expand on this for, the seniors to play in their really last game and have such a performance like that on the ice.
I thought it was great for them, and probably the best. Dom's hat trick was great, but the best moment for me in that game was probably Sully coming in, playing the last 16 minutes, doesn't give up anything, makes some big saves. Like that kid is absolutely the rock of this team. Like he shows up to practice every night, never complains, is always got a smile on his face, team first all the way. And I'm just so glad that he got that moment for him.
Yeah, it was nice to see Ian and Sully both get in. And then at the end of the game, towards the end, when Dean got the goal, it was me, Grant, Dean, Dom, and Doozy all out there. So that was fun to be a part of at the end.
Yeah, we didn't have a senior on last week to, kind of talk about the senior night, what it meant to them. What did it mean? What has, not only this season meant for you, but, all 4 years here at this program, what has playing Virginia Tech hockey meant for you?
It's been awesome. Just all 4 years being able to make lifelong friendships. Even with the seniors that graduate each year, I'm still in touch with some of them. And from Gavin Morrison 4 years ago, or Nick Mazzaro 3 years ago, and so forth, or Daniel last year. Like you just make friendships that'll last a lifetime.
Do you have a favorite memory of your time playing with the Hokies that, you always think back on?
Probably when we beat NC State last year. I think that was the first time in like 6 years that we beat them or something like that. So no one on the team beat them yet. So that was definitely my favorite memory, probably.
Yeah, you guys still have a couple more games left. What has been, we talk about how historic this team has been, and we talk about, the culture and how that's also evolved over the past couple of years. Can you like elaborate more on, how that's changed you as a player, and being more now being a leader on this team and how that's kind of affected this overall success of the program?
Yeah, I think a big thing was the culture this year. I think Dave and Joey and even Colin have kind of taken a little step back, be a little lighter, not as stressed out, I think everyone is. And it's a lot more fun on the bench, talking back and forth and doing everything like that. And I think there's just a lot more energy on the team overall. So I think that's been a big factor to us winning this year.
Yeah. And you guys, like I said, you guys have a couple more games left. How much more important are these games, coming up, knowing that these are your going to be your very last games in a Hokie uniform?
Oh yeah, they're very important. ACC playoffs is always fun. It's always very competitive. And then this year, I believe we have a bye to regionals, so that'll be the first time I go to regionals. So I know all of us seniors for sure are looking forward to that because that's the first time for all of us.
Yeah. Well, you are, as I mentioned, a leader on this team, a leader on the defensive side, being having that senior presence, teaching these young guys, coach brought in a lot of young guys, you pairing up with JH this past year. What has it been to be a mentor to these young guys this year?
Well, first, Jage isn't young. We know
Well,
that. He's older than me. But yeah, Rice, Max, Drew, and all the other young guys come in, and they're easy to work with. They're easy to talk to. They have questions here and there, but we all get along really well, and it's just been a really good decor this year. So.
yeah, coach, what have you seen from, Kevin's play? You've seen him obviously all 4 years he's been here. What have you say what have you seen from his play and how it's evolved, not only on the ice, but also off the ice in the locker room?
I would say just probably the maturity. Like when you come in out of high school or juniors or whatever, it's a different dynamic. We asked Kevin probably to do a lot as a freshman. We were thin back there when he came in, so his roles have evolved over the years, and he's taken it in stride. I mean, there were things that we talked about after his freshman year, like, hey, we think you can be a top guy for us, but we need you to do a couple things, and like never questioned it. Went to work, did it in the off season, came back his sophomore year like a totally different player. And he's just one of those guys that I can throw him out there whenever I need to. Never have to worry about it. Throw him out there. Kevin's going to be fine. Like it's been nice having him back there as basically like the anchor for everybody. So makes it easy.
Hey, Kevin, kind of going back, this one last question. I know we talk about your successes on the ice, but off the ice, how the team you mentioned has a culture of team bonding culture. Can you kind of can you elaborate on, the off ice and how you guys bond and, create such team chemistry off the ice?
It's just hanging out. I mean, whether people are hanging out at my place or hanging out another hockey apartment, like the door is always open. So, just going and doing things, going to a basketball game or just watching a football game at one of the apartments, everyone's always there, just hanging out and just being together. And I think just over time, you just get so much closer and just build a natural chemistry, and that leaks over onto the ice and then sets us up for success. So.
Mm. Well, and that's kind of shift gears now. We talked about last weekend and talk about, the importance of the seniors playing. But let's now shift forward to, this upcoming weekend. You got a big weekend ahead of you. You got the league playoffs. You got Ryder on Friday. Who knows if you win that? You got possibly NC State on Saturday, and then potentially a championship match on Sunday against, who knows, Penn State. So you got very, very interesting matchups coming up. But let's kind of start with Friday at Ryder. Again, game one, you have to focus on one to get to the next. Have you seen so far? You guys played them earlier in the season. We'll get more into that later on. But what have you seen from this squad that makes you think that, they could go all the way starting Friday? And this is for both of you guys.
You can go first.
This has just been a different team all year. I mean, there hasn't been a lack of confidence even in the few games that we have lost. Like they bounced back really well. So I think they're ready. It's not like I think they're serious this year. You can tell that. You tell that from the beginning, like Kevin said earlier. Like me, Dave, and Colin have kind of had to step back, or were able to step back and kind of let them run things. There's not a lot of yelling in locker rooms. There's not a lot of yelling on the bench. Like the guys kind of handle that themselves. They know what they need to do. So there's no need in us beating them down for it. Like so, I think they'll be ready. It's a huge game. I don't really look at the scores from when we played them earlier in the year. They're a different team. We're a different team. If you don't show up ready or you think you've got a game in the bag, like that's when you get beat. So we're going to prepare this week like we're playing the number one team in the country. Like we're every game is going to be have to be that kind of focus and intensity to really make a run at this.
Yeah, I think everyone has bought into it this year. And we all know that the first step to nationals and everything starts with the ACC playoffs. So Friday is the first game. We'll come in ready for that and hopefully have success out there.
Now, Coach, I know you just said that you don't really care about what happened in the past with the stats, but kind of going back to your road trip in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, all the way back in October, you guys, one out of your three games that you scored double digits in were against Ryder 10-3, and then you had that Saturday matinee 5-4 win, close one. Are you gonna go back to that film and watch and see how we played against them? Or do you think, since these are two different teams, that you don't really have to worry too much about it and just focus on what the team is capable of doing right now?
I would say more of like when me and Colin helps me a lot with like video stuff. He's really good at that. We'll go back and look at tendencies like where did we give up goals? What happened? What mistake did we make to give up a goal? Because 90% of the time when you give up a goal, it's a mistake that you made somewhere. So we'll go look at that and see what we need to install for practice this week. When I do video, I kind of break down power play and penalty kills just to see what works well for us, what we need to tinker with. Power play is the same way. as long as our biggest thing this year, if we stay disciplined and focused and stay out of the box, then we usually have pretty good success. So that's going to be our game plan going in.
And I was kind of leading into my next question about, again, the last five league games you guys played, or six league games you guys played against UNC, UNC Wilmington, and NC State. Those problems of discipline have come, and have eventually some of them have cost you games. How do you plan again against Ryder, and who knows, maybe possibly NC State, Penn State on Sunday? You might have a chance of playing them this weekend. How do you ensure that these guys are going to stay disciplined and ensure that you guys have a chance of winning every single game?
I mean, that's not nothing. There's nothing we can do as coaches about that. That's on them. It's the leadership. I think they've done a good job of staying out of the crap themselves. So that kind of the team follows them when they're disciplined. Like we're not going to run around. If we got guys that are the leaders on this team that are running around and let their emotions get the best of them, that's when we kind of start breaking down as a team. So they've done a really good job. Like we do a good job of like tracking stats throughout the year. So like you can go back and look at the games we lost, and I think two of the four of them we were in penalty trouble. We stay out of penalty trouble, we're fine like that. So I'm not concerned with it. We've had two or three games where we've had more than 15 minutes in penalty. So we keep it under that 6, 8 minute a game threshold. We're usually in good shape.
Yeah. And Kevin, obviously big week coming up. What are you saying to the guys, ensure that you have a chance of winning every single game, kind of going off of what coach was saying?
It just starts with practice. Tomorrow's practice needs to be high intensity, high pace, everyone competing with each other. And so does Wednesdays. So I think that's where it starts, and then that should prepare us for Friday and so forth moving on after that.
Yeah, you guys, as I mentioned, have Ryder on Friday at 3 o'clock. It's the 3 versus 6 seed matchup. Are you going to be paying attention to, the other games, or are you just going to be focusing on your game and then seeing what happens next?
I mean, I would say as a player, you probably don't focus a ton on the other games. That's probably more our job to make sure we know what's going on, who our matchup is, what we need to do. So like this week, I'll end up watching a lot of games. Like I watched NC State play tonight, a little bit on Friday night, watched UNC play. Like every year, these playoffs are wild, so you never know. You can't just go in and say, "Oh, it's going to be chalk and it's going to be the top four moving on." Like something crazy happens every year, so you got to be ready to play anybody. Last year, Rowan got hot and ran through the whole tournament with Wilmington, so you just don't know. So that'll be our job, me, Dave, and Colin, to figure out what we need to put in. So if we do get through Friday, it's nice to have like a 27 hour turnaround to put some stuff in with maybe a meeting or so. But other than that, we're just focused on Ryder right now.
Yeah. And I know you just said you focus on Ryder, but I kind of want to shift now to the possibility if you do win, you have the chance, you could play NC State again on Saturday or Penn State on Sunday, or, you could play Rowan if they beat NC State. There's endless possibilities on who you could face, come Saturday or Sunday. But, specifically talking about NC State and Penn State, if you do face those two teams in the tournament, two teams that, have handed you losses so far this season, what are your game plan are you coming into those games? Because obviously we won't talk until next weekend. So if in the off chance, Kevin, you can also talk about this too. In the off chance you do play these games, what will be your mentality going into them?
Just to win. I mean, we beat NC State this year, so we know we can do it. We took it. Penn State was a crazy game into overtime. All winnable games. Um, you just got to come in confident, play our system, and we know we can win those games. We've done it all year. We won 22 games this year, so it's not a fluke. Um, we'll see how the cards play out. We'll get who we get, and we'll be ready for whoever it is.
Yeah, I think it just be playing the game smart, no penalties, and we do that. I think we'll have success, and I think we'll win.
Well, I know you just really answer this question, Kevin, but my final question was going to be, what is it going to take for the Virginia Tech Hokies to win the Admirals Cup championship on Sunday at 1 o'clock in Winston-Salem?
Yeah, just no penalties and playing the same game plan we pretty much played all year that we've done good doing. So I think that's the biggest takeaway and the biggest thing we need to do.
Coach?
That for me too. Oh yeah.
Yeah, my final thoughts.
My biggest thing: 180 minutes of focus. That's all it is. 180 minutes out of what what, 72 hours? If we can't do that, then I don't know what to do.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens this weekend. On that note, that will do it for episode number 18 of the Gobbler Effect, sponsored by the Beach House Bar and Grill here on the Virginia Tech Hockey Network. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe on the channel here, as well as click the notification bell for live stream and content updates this season. Kevin, Coach Mullen, thank you both again for joining us. The Hokies travel down to Winston-Salem starting this Friday for the ACC-HL playoffs as they take on the Rider Broncs in the first round. Until next time, guys, go Hokies.